Number 6, the GNCC Series sets up camp in the backyard of defending Series champ Bill Balance and the current Series points leader William Yokley. Which local hero will claim victory on the nasty track they call the Spartan? It's GNCC Homecoming from Sparta, Kentucky. Hello everybody and welcome to Sparta, Kentucky, side of round 6 GNCC ATV racing action presented by Suzuki. Dave Reef along with 5-time GNCC champ Scott Summers set to bring you the action from a course that's got some sunshine on it now, but earlier this week lots of rain, Scott.
Yeah, it's going to be wet, but you know those pro production riders will probably really enjoy that slippery off camber.
It seems like those pro production guys keep gaining steam every weekend. Certainly got the pros' attention.
Allowing some guys to get out there that maybe don't have as good a ride as some of the top pros, and they can go buy a factory bike off showroom floor, and that's the only thing that's allowed in the class. So, you know, and it's something too, I think, to open the eyes to the factory and show that these bikes can be competitive. And you know, if they put a little more heart and desire in it and work with the racers out there, then you know we could all be on a factory bike. It could get to the point to where the quads out here are just competitive with each factory as the bikes are, and you know, that'd be nice for us to get into something like that, to where we come in and top 10 pits was, you know, different factories down through the line, and everybody be real competitive with each other.
The other class, I mean, took quite a bit more money to get an equal quad, and this kind of takes some of the money out of it and puts a little more of the skill in it, and it's a lot of fun. Hopefully the factories all get into it. They're all, pretty much everybody will have a factory quad that you can race later this year, and hopefully next year we'll get some factory support in it.
I'm glad that they brought that class in. I hope that the factories really get into it, and I'd like to see a lot of different factories support here. And I like, you know, everybody works hard to pay the bills and make it here, and all the support is as many people can get support. That's that much better, and I like to see it.
That's high praise, Scott, especially from the pro points leader.
Yeah, you can really tell that these guys would love to see Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, Kawasaki get out there and really get involved and give them some support for their efforts.
We mentioned a very muddy racetrack. That's because of all the rain that fell throughout the week. Here's an idea what's going to be facing these guys today. 8 miles and lots of mud.
You know, Jeff Russell and the Racer Productions crew have done a great job of cutting in all new trails. This is a completely different track than the Sparta GNCC from last year. It's going to be 8 miles of trees, off cambers. There's some really long creek sections that are dry. So only thing on the bottom of them is these big rocks. And I can't help but think that the ATV guys are going to be worried about getting flat tires.
1 year ago, the dust was so bad, a lot of the spectators had to wear dust masks. Probably not going to be a problem today as you take a look at the names and numbers that go along with these guys. The riders in red representing our pro production class here. We are set to go in Sparta, Kentucky.
10 seconds, and we're going to be off and running. The flag will fly, he will run, and the bikes will take off like
Green flag and away we go. You better look out. Some ATVs are screaming down on you.
Yeah, as you notice, they're actually blowing the grass off of the trails. These guys really like when they get a chance to ride on brand new terrain that's never been ridden on.
A little surprised to see as much dust as we've had already. Rain has fallen hard here all week long.
Well, the layout in that first couple of turns is really nice for the spectators. It's kind of like a natural amphitheater where everybody can stand on the outside and see a whole lot of the first turn.
Ready to go, 1 minute behind. Here comes the pro production riders.
Now this course is more technical than the previous 5 rounds, so it's going to be more important for these guys to get a good start, because once they get in the woods, it's going to be hard, a lot harder to pass than it has been for them.
Brian Baker with the hole shot. The points leaders, we've got one upside down already. Not too much damage. Looks like he'll be able to get going.
Yeah, maybe a little broken-hearted, but he'll get back out on the trail.
Baker leading the freight train through the early part of this section.
And you can kind of see how rough it is. There's rocks and things hidden in that grass, so these guys need to be a little conservative and be careful on the first lap until the visibility gets better.
Here's the defending champion, Bill Balance, leading in his own backyard, opening up a pretty sizable advantage, and there's one of those creek beds.
Yeah, these things are two-wheel drive. Those are the rear wheels are spinning. And, you know, some of the utility quads, they've got four-wheel drive, so that actually comes in handy. Unfortunately, utility quads weigh about 620 pounds, so there's not a whole lot of advantage there.
Seems like this series just continues to grow. This weekend, more than 1,100 motorcycles and ATVs.
Yeah, it seems to be breaking records every week, which is it's impressive. It's great for the riders and great for the spectators.
Well, we've already got a lap in the books. Bill Balance holding off Matt Smiley by 5 seconds. We'll be back in just a moment. The Spartan Grand National Cross Country Race is being brought to you today by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. Back in action in Sparta, Kentucky, Bryan Baker, your production class leader, not too far behind him. Here comes Duvall.
It's a little bit deceiving. There's some pretty good-sized hills out there. Those guys are accelerating up.
Meanwhile, Bill Balance continues to lead. We went to break just a moment ago. A freight train behind him. A bunch of guys within 5-10 seconds.
And it must be drying out pretty much because you can see a little puff of dust as they clear around that pond, which means conditions are probably just about perfect.
Smiley zooming off your screen. That's second. Here comes third place, Bad Page. And your fourth place rider. Oh boy, this looks fun.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that's interesting is that in order to be within striking distance to make a pass, you have to stay really close to the guy in front of you. Well, what a lot of people don't realize is when they do that, they have to catch all that stuff coming off of the wheels in front of them.
And did you see that? That might have been a pass for the lead. Duvall looked like he got on the inside of Baker. As we come back to our pro class, Balance opening up a pretty decent lead.
And here's one of those creeks we talked about when we were looking at the track map. There is some water in these creeks, and there's some big rocks. These guys have to be really careful about where they place the wheels because getting a flat in here would be pretty easy.
Great battle for second going on between the second, third, and fourth place riders. What's it like to go through one of these creek sections? Well, let's jump on board with Mark Hyde and find out.
Now, he's on a dirt bike, so he's probably not having to hit quite as many bumps as the guys with four wheels are, but still you get a good feel for how rough this terrain is.
Battle for fifth going on between the 45 and 5 machines. It's Rice and BORICH getting close as Chad Duvall was able to make that pass. He leads Baker down that same tricky section.
Yeah, you see these guys splashing each other with water. That actually feels pretty good. The only problem is that you don't want to get that water on your goggles because if your vision is affected, your speed is definitely affected.
Here's Bill Balance hammering through the trees. Take a listen, hear what this sounds like. Working it pretty hard.
Yeah, you can tell they're using a lot of body English. Watch where they place their bodies on the machines. As the angle of the hill changes, their body position has to change so that they increase the traction and keep the thing pointed in the direction they want to go.
You probably get more of a leg workout riding the ATVs than you do motorcycle, don't you?
Well, after speaking to these guys, you know, most of the things that they say that happens is their backs get tired, their lower backs, because they have to stay in such a crouched over position. And of course, I think a lot of the guys get arm pump on the first lap. You're squeezing the grips really tight because you don't really know what to expect around each corner. Some of the guys go out and bicycle the track or walk the track, but you can't memorize 8 miles of course when you're out there walking for 2.5 or 3 hours.
Certainly worth noting these guys never seen this racetrack. You can go out and walk it, but like you're saying, it's 8 miles long, so it's not something you're going to want to do before you go out and bust a little hump for 3 hours here.
Yeah, that's right. On the first lap, typically you'll watch the lap times, and typically if the traction stays good and the braking bumps don't get too big, they'll actually go faster toward the end of the race. And the reason for that is because they've had a chance to memorize what's around each corner.
Brad Page going by, coming to the checkpoint. Completing another lap as Chad Duvall continues to lead in the production class. These guys are gaining some serious time.
Yeah, the pro production class seems to be more and more impressive. Both Chad and Bryan Baker and guys like Craig True are keeping the pro class honest.
YOKLEY now has moved into second place. That's the series points leader, trying to hold Bill Balance in check, but so far not able to do that. 15 seconds behind the defending series champ. Brad Page, Matt Smiley, and Chris BORICH all within shouting distance too. Dave Reef, Scott Summers, welcome you back to round 6 of the Grand National Cross Country ATV Series from Sparta, Kentucky, where Bill Balance continues to lead.
And that's Chad Duvall coming into the home checkpoint.
The checkpoint just to keep people honest?
Yeah, they have the home check, and then they have 1 or 2 other checks out in the woods. Here's another check in the woods, and it looks like what we have here is the pro class is stuck, waiting in line. And you see it looks like the pro production riders. No, that's Matt SMILEY that just passed about 7 or 8 guys.
SMILEY was in about 4th place. You saw Brad Page and William YOKLEY just kind of sitting there, and SMILEY makes his own line through there as you see BORICH hammering through the trees. And here comes SMILEY, who's taking over the lead. You saw those ATVs stuck in the mud. This is a pretty treacherous part of this course. That's Balance, who's now 2nd.
Yeah, this just looks like a traffic jam.
Part of what makes GNCC racing so much fun, though, for the fans,
right.
Not for those guys.
Right. Now, when that happens, the guys are allowed to do whatever they have to do to get around the other riders. You know, they give them a little bit of leeway as far as going off the course. If it becomes a big parking lot, they can do whatever they have to keep rolling.
How treacherous and muddy. Look at William YOKLEY trying to fight his way up the hill. Finally gets himself going.
And you know the adrenaline's pumping. The last thing these guys want to be doing is sitting there stopped. They want to be making progress. They want to be catching the guy in front of them, not letting the guy behind them catch up to them.
And that's only got to help the pro production guys who started about a minute behind. If, you know, they don't get caught in this bottleneck, they're going to make up some serious time.
Absolutely. The pro production class, that's the best thing that can happen for them, because all of a sudden that gives them an opportunity to see the leaders.
Earlier we talked about walking the track to find such disasters, but it's pretty tough to do.
I used to walk the track a couple years ago, and man, I'd walk them the day before, and the next day I was just, my legs was really tired, and I gave up on that. You walk 10 miles and it's hard to remember all the lines that you can actually find. While you're walking, you find quite a bit, but you're running through there 40, 50 mile an hour, and you don't see those lines, so it's sort of a no-win situation.
It's tough to do. It's a lot of miles to walk the day before you race.
Yeah, it sure is. We used to do it, and you definitely feel it when you get out there on the motorcycle. You really want to be fresh when you're riding that motorcycle. It takes so much out of you. It's pretty deceiving how much physical work is actually going on with each one of these riders. They're having to hold on really tight. They're having to force a 350, 400-pound machine all over the track. And it's not easily done, especially for the duration of time that we're talking here.
Talking about feeling it, SMILEY feeling the pressure in for his pit stop. You saw Balance pulled in just ahead of him, but Balance is still stuck in the pit. SMILEY is gassed up and gone and will retake the lead.
Yeah, we get to watch these guys get their, 5-6 second break in a 2-hour race.
Unbelievable. Battle warming up for 5th. Chris BORICH on the 5, Todd Nippenberg on the 16.
And you saw Chris BORICH look over his shoulder, maybe a little bit surprised to see somebody reeling him in.
YOKLEY and Page doing battle for 3rd. Sneaking by some of the lapped riders.
Another thing tricky about this course is there's obviously some slippery spots and then there's dry spots. So these guys have to kind of, make changes in their technique based on the type of terrain that they're rolling over.
There's YOKLEY and Page in for their quick gas stop. They'll come in 3rd and 4th and go out in the exact same order. Page holds on to the number 4 spot. Brian Baker making some ground, trying to catch the pro production leader. Back in that tricky creek section again.
Well, this is one place where you could do some passing, but you have to take some risks, like we talked about with flats before. The majority of this course is, pretty narrow. So they have that big open field up there by the home check, and then they have these wide creek beds. Other than that, you almost have to wait for a guy to make a mistake to really get around him.
That bottleneck really held up the pro riders. Some of the production guys have come very, very close, challenging that minute mark. One of those guys, Brian Baker, you see right here, manipulating small hill and a bit of water on the racetrack.
Yeah, not only did the pro production riders capitalize on that big bottleneck traffic jam earlier in the race, but those 4-strokes just work better in the really slippery off-camber terrain, and this course has got a lot of that.
As Mark High just showed us. Matt SMILEY, 2nd place in the pro class. Can he chase down and pass Bill Balance one more time? Well, 3 laps in the books. He's just 6 seconds behind, but William Yokley's just 8. Today's Grand National Cross Country Race, the Spartan GNCC, is brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. Dave Reef, Scott Summers back with you, ready to crown a champion. Will it be Bad Brad Page? Well, he's got a little time to make up, currently 4th place in the pro class.
You know, as you circulate the track, there is some luck involved. You know, what happens right in front of you on the race course makes a big difference. Certain places there's mud holes and guys get stuck, and other places there's not. And if you're one of the guys that doesn't have any incidents happen in front of you for a whole lap, you can make up a lot of ground.
Great ride today by Todd Nippenberg, currently 5th place. It's got to be about his best finish so far this season, as we've got ourselves a new leader. Talk about luck. Good timing for William Yokley to grab the top spot.
Yeah, he obviously has either turned it up or he had one of those laps where just, you know, he didn't have any problems, things were going smooth, and he had clear ground in front of him.
That Smiley's got to be thinking to himself, geez, what do I got to do? I thought it was Balance I was chasing, but here comes Yokley's. Bill Balance has fallen back to 3rd.
And who knows, maybe Yokley's just taking big chances going across those creek sections. You know, that's fine. But like, again, you have to be careful and watch out for your tires.
On board chasing down your leader through the thick brush here. Getting through a little quicker than our helmet cam. It was only on 2 wheels.
Yeah, you know, that trail, you can see 2 distinct lines, and that's where the tires go, almost like slots.
Chad Duvall, now your pro production class leader, trying to chase down Bill Balance, the pro class leader who retook the lead. Not sure what happened to Yokley, but positions have changed once again. But the point being here, Scott, is Duvall is almost pulled to within that minute barrier that they got at the start.
Yeah, that's amazing. He's got to be really excited, and I'm sure nobody's expecting that from the pro production class. These guys are really close to being in contention for the overall. Yet they started a minute down.
And Bill Balance has absolutely no idea this is going on.
That's probably the case.
There's Yokley into 2nd. Smiley dropped back to 3rd.
Yokley looked like some of his body work was coming loose. Maybe he clipped a tree or had an accident out there somewhere.
While manipulating his way around some of the lap guys as Balance, Yokley, and then Smiley come through, climbing the hill 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
You can see that dirt's almost polished. Some of that stuff's like ice. You have to have a lot of finesse with the throttle. You know, too much, you're going to spin out. Not enough, you're not going to make it up the hill.
And there's your pro production leader chasing down the 4th place guy in the pro class. That is how close Chad Duvall is getting.
Now these guys have to rely on their pit crews to tell them what position they're in and how far ahead they are or how far behind they are. And I'm not so sure that the pit crews are keeping track of those pro production riders for the pro class.
Brian Baker obviously with a little bit of a problem, maybe one of those flat tires we were talking about. They were ready to go with the brand new one as Yokley and Balance are waging battle once again. Yokley's gotten around the defending series champ one more time. Baker's flat is fixed. You can see he's got a brand new right rear ready to go.
Yeah, you know, these guys can operate pretty well with a flat rear tire. It's pretty surprising how fast they'll go, but when they get a flat front, it's big problems because it has a real negative effect on steering and they just have to slow down.
On board with Mark Hyde again. Looks like we got a little bottleneck once again up ahead.
Looks like William Yokley goes up and must have taken a look and there was no way around, so he comes back.
Right before Matt Smiley gets there to hold on to that position. But
that's one of those situations where they just have to sit and wait. In the meantime, the riders behind him are reeling them in quick.
Just a moment ago when you saw Yokley circling through the trees, he'd given up the lead to Bill Balance. Now he's given up part of his fairing trying to track him down again.
Yeah, we saw those parts loose earlier. It looks like the whole half of the bodywork is dangling off, and hopefully that won't interfere with his progress.
Could that catch on a tree and upset him?
Absolutely. That bodywork could fling around and interfere with him being able to operate the rear brake or a number of different scenarios.
Brad Page continues to hold down the 4th spot as you saw Balance start to streak away a little bit. Yokley's fallen back to 3rd, giving up 2nd to Matt Smiley. course, Yokley not going to take any chances, kind of protecting that points lead with just a good finish, it looks like, at this point.
I don't know. That torn body parts generally means very aggressive riding, maybe over-aggressive.
See the gap there between first and second. Be over 10 seconds as Yokley now has to manipulate his way through the creek with all of that torn body work.
He looks like he's going slower, so something must be going on.
Curious to see where he's going to end up when it's all said and done. Very curious to see about Chad Duvall now, who has reportedly pulled underneath that minute barrier once again.
Which means he's actually leading this race overall, and nobody probably realizes that.
Least of which, Bill Balance. Look at that posture, kind of taking it easy, riding to the checkered flag in the pro class. Of course, all eyes will be on the stopwatches now when Chad Duvall comes through. And you can tell his posture is very much different.
Absolutely.
Crew almost cheering him on. They realize what's going on.
He realizes, I think, that he's in a race for the win.
Are we witnessing history? It certainly looks like it. The production-based ATV has beaten the high-dollar aftermarket machine. The checkpoint will confirm it by 16 seconds. Chad Duvall is your overall winner. Obviously wins the production class 2 as Brian Baker finishes second. The icing on the cake, he extends his points lead as the cell phones and the internet going wild about the big news in Sparta.
Yeah, I'm tickled to death. Like I said, I kind of never dreamed I'd be back up here again, and I was hoping I'd get on the podium once or twice, but to come out and win it, I'm thrilled to death.
You can pick up your jaw now, Scott.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm really shocked, but that's exactly what the manufacturers are looking for. You know, a Honda 4-stroke on the podium, that means other manufacturers could do the same.
We thought this day would come, but not quite so soon, especially if your name is Bill Balance.
No, I didn't see anything all day long that Chad was close enough in the time to be in contention overall. Not to take anything away from me running a good race, but I wish I'd have just known on the last lap. I would have pushed a little bit harder probably.
Well, it's probably not going to make him feel much better, but Bill Balance does gain some ground on William Yokley, as does Matt Smiley, as Yokley clings to that 1-point lead. But as we get ready to head to the Scarecrow, everybody's going to be talking about what they witnessed today, Scott.
Yeah, they sure are. You know, there has been a Honda 4-stroke on the podium before, and that was Steve Holbert. But that happened many years ago, and I'm sure many folks have forgotten about that.
Scarecrow GNCC, you can find that in Oryxville, Ohio. Round 7 action coming your way in just 1 week's time here on the Outdoor Life Network. Well, it was an incredible day indeed for Chad Duvall. Not too bad for Bill Balance either, except he comes up on the short end of the stick. For Scott Summers, I'm Dave Reef. We'll see you next time when we go GNCC racing. So long, everybody.